They really are my gardening buddies. They're stealing some of my worms right now, but they're also pooping in here and stirring up, and it's all good. If you remember last fall, I talked about mulching our garden for the winter with leaves, and we brought in tons and tons of leaves. A lot of them decomposed, but not all of them. So now, as I am loosely just loosening up the soil, I'm trying to push some of them back in. It all just happens on its own, and they will just continue to decompose and give nourishment to the soil. And then we will also grab our compost. Cooper is getting it right now, and I will be putting layers of compost on each of the rows that we planted. It really is quite lovely how all of this works together. And the soil, out of all of my garden beds, the 2 that I planted last year, the soil is looking really good. It's not near as heavy in the majority of it as it was last year. So it is truly being restored and no longer depleted. There's so many worms and other little insects that are going to do me lots of good. So it's looking really good. hardening off process is finishing up for most everything. I would like by the end of next week for everything but my peppers to be in the ground. So some of these things will go in, and this is how we do it. It's makeshift. We have tables set up. Some things are spread out, and everything is doing really well. So the tomatoes will be so ready to get in. We have our black strawberries here. These are spoon tomatoes, which I'm really excited about this year. I've not done those. And then I'm doing tiny Tims. Straw flowers will probably go in this weekend. Confrona, we're gonna give some more time. I guess my eggplant, I almost killed all of it by leaving a window open accidentally. But every single one but one came back, as well as my tomatoes that I started later. So I have some white currant Camp Joy cherry tomatoes and just some Romas. Borage will be going in probably today. I'm gonna give my basil a little bit more time. Some of this basil will be going in. I'm gonna give it just a little bit more time to get established, but it'll be going in soon. Same with my oregano. There are 4 plants, 3 to 4 plants in each of these 4-inch trays. They're doing really well, and they're all different varieties. Sunflowers, who knows how these sunflowers are going to do. I've never done this before. They need to get in the ground, but there's probably about 250 to 300. I was trying to give them a head start. They definitely have required fertilizer. But when I they need to be in the ground probably by this weekend. But we do have some 40 degrees. So since they didn't start in the ground, I don't know what they'll do. It'll be a great experiment. Dahlias will be going in the ground probably today. My upper cress, I just fertilized. I'm gonna give it a little bit more time. I'm going to give my lettuces, this lettuce, I'm super excited. It's a Great Lakes crisp lettuce. I think it will do well. I'm not sure about this one. This one's been super wonky. Queen of Crunch. Not sure what that one's going to do in the ground.
How did you
So I am making kombucha today. Kombucha is a summer drink that we love. Most everybody in my family, not everybody, but most, especially if you put frozen strawberries or frozen mangoes or frozen blueberries, any type of frozen fruit, and you use it as ice cubes in the summer. It's quite delicious. So I just put in, you saw my big stock pot. That is enough water for my 2-gallon jars. Our family will go through 2 gallons in a couple of weeks, probably, if I limit them. They would go through it in less than a week if I didn't. And then since I'm doing 2-gallon jars, it's 2 cups of sugar. So while the water is still hot, once the tea has steeped for at least 15 minutes, but sometimes I let it go much longer, for even hours. But while it is still hot, I will dissolve my sugar in there. And then when I think it has steeped long enough, it just depends on how strong you want it, I will go ahead and fill up the pot. So it's about a third of the way full right now of water. So I'm basically making it really, really strong. And then I'll finish it off with cold water. And as soon as it's room temperature or cooler, you can put it in your jars that contain the SCOBY. So in these jars, it's not just the SCOBY, but it's probably about a cup to a cup and a half of kombucha. That's very, very strong. You always have to have some of your liquid in there, so the rest of it ferments right alongside of it. Or right along with it. So that is how you do kombucha. It's very, very simple. It's delicious. You probably do have to adjust to it. Usually when if people ask if they can try mine, I remind them that it's a fermented drink. It does not taste like beer, but it is fermented tea. It tastes just like a very strong, sparkling tea. That's my opinion. But like I said, most everybody, Jace does not like it, and a couple of my older kids kind of think it's mediocre, but everybody else loves it, and it's so good for you. So look up the health benefits, especially if you're trying to kick soda. Kombucha is a great thing to do, and if you don't like the flavor immediately, try mixing it with a sparkling water that has a fruit flavor, like a LaCroix, or actually I have one right now that I like called Spindrift. I have a raspberry lime one. These took me a bit to get used to. I enjoy them now. Mix it half and half, and then make sure you put your frozen fruit in there for a little bit extra sweetness and flavor. It's delicious. So actually, let me show you how I store mine in the refrigerator. Okay, so this is what I have left from our last batch that is ready to drink. This is just plain kombucha. I love these lids. They're fantastic. They help keep the seal and the carbonation in there. Very, very good, and you can pour right from them. I would never let my kids have this much. It would actually probably start to upset their stomach. And then the same way with my my ball jars. This is about 4 cups, and this has strawberries in it, and actually I think there's some, just one second, there's also I think some pineapple in here. Just one second, Betty. So what I do, this one, like I said, is just plain. I put all the frozen fruit in here, then I pour the kombucha in here, and it is not a second fermentation. If I left it on the counter for another week, it would. Instead, I just keep it right in the refrigerator. We really, really enjoy it that way, and it's delicious in the summertime. Try it. Let me know if you do. Some of you might be thinking that is a ton of sugar to go in, even if it's being split up between 2 different gallons. But what you have to remember is your sugar is going to be, for a lack of better wording, eaten by your SCOBY, the healthy organism that my kids say look like a brain. So that's what keeps this SCOBY alive, is the sugar. So essentially the SCOBY eats all of the sugar up. So this will ferment for about 2 weeks, and then there will be hardly any sugar content left at all. And you'll notice it as you taste it. It's not an overly sweet drink. And the reason I'm bending over like this is because I don't want to have to adjust my camera right now, because I keep having to adjust it for other things. So it's for what's coming next. One other really great thing about when you use like an organic black tea. So when you make kombucha, you can really only use black tea or green tea. And the nice thing about when you use an organic one, you can compost those tea bags, and it actually just adds to your soil and what you're trying to do. So that's another thing that's kind of lovely. No waste at all for me when I'm making kombucha. So another perk.